What does a third assistant director do, Don?
Well, it's within the assistant directing team, and ultimately the ADs schedule a film and then run the actors' days through prep, picking them up, getting them into fittings or hair and makeup or whatever. On like a shooting day, the ADs just run the floor and make sure everyone's on the same page, everyone knows what's happening, and we work with the other departments to try and realise a director's vision. As a third AD, I support the first AD on the floor. I'm sort of a link between him and the second AD, who is at base predominantly like prepping for the next day shooting, and also getting the actors ready and, costume, hair and makeup, getting ready for the shooting day and send them down to set.
And how did you get into what you do?
It really started with my older brother, who was working in production at the time, and we were living in Deptford, and he was on the production side of a music video by Christina Train called Dark Black, I believe. You know that one, right?
Stormed up the charts.
Yeah.
Back down again.
And, he got me and my twin brother in as runners on that music video, and that was pretty much like the first like paid thing that I did, and I didn't have a clue what was going on. From there, it was just more like music videos and promos until I got a job on Silk with the BBC, and then off the back of that, it's sort of like right time, right place. I was doing a episode of Home and Away in London, and Craig Topham, who was the third at the time and I was a runner, I was stood next to him, and he got a call from someone who was on Heart of the Sea and asked him if they knew any runners or PAs or whatever. He was like, yeah, I'm stood next to one right now with a guy called Donald. I'll pass him over. I did a few days on Heart of the Sea.
This is the Ron Howard film.
Yeah, the Ron Howard film, yeah. And they went abroad to La Gomera, and I was shooting a short film for the BBC in the Thamesmead estate, and it was like a real grim day, like raining and just grey. And I got a phone call from the second, Tom Wright at the time, and was like, can you get in a car and come to La Gomera for 6 weeks tomorrow?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. It's like, absolutely, yeah.
Centuries before, sailors feared sailing off the edge of the earth.
All hands on deck!
But we were headed for the edge of sanity.
I was a catering PA on that film, and that was pretty much just getting food, because they were out on the boat shooting all the stuff at sea, and it was just getting their lunch to the crew from land to them, and getting the orders and stuff. And then it just sort of snowballed from there, really. I ended up on The Huntsman. That's where I met Andy Madden, and he sort of has kept me in work ever since then, really. Followed him around and ended up on Solo.
This is a really tricky question, but do you have a sense of what qualities you have that have made you good for this job and mean that you keep getting hired?
I like to think I work hard, and I'm hopefully a nice person to work with. I do feel that growing up, my dad was in the RAF, he was a chef, and growing up on RAF bases, I feel is very similar to a film studio. Yeah. Like all the different departments, there's a lot of parallels there, and I think that and moving every couple of years in the RAF and making new beginnings and having to always have first impressions with people, which on a film set you do literally every day. I do think that that's like something that's ingrained that really like helps in my role that I do now.
Heard about a job. Big shot gangster putting together crew.
I'm a driver and I'm a flyer. I waited a long time for a shot like this. What do you think? Well, what do you know?
You went to the cast and crew screening of Solo today.
I did, yeah.
How does it feel watching a film that you've worked on, particularly of that size? And do you remember specific scenes? Do you come out of the film thinking, oh yeah, that's reminded me of actually shooting that? Or is it more just a kind of like a photo montage of your time on that film?
Yeah, the films are always definitely like a lovely sort of like reminder of your year's work, and there's definitely certain things that spring back into your mind as you're watching the film that you remember from a certain location, or like specifically the Dolomite stuff, like all the snow sequence, just like the amazing landscapes, and you're just like, wow, like that was cool.
If you come with us, you're in this life for good. might want to buckle up, baby.
What's the most challenging thing about your job?
In all honesty, it's probably the hours. Shoot day is normally 10 hours, but we give an hour either side, so we're at the studio for 12 hours as a minimum, and then I live in London, but the studios can be at least an hour's drive, maybe more if you're shooting outside of London or whatever. So there's a lot of time away from your friends and family, and when you go, we travel a fair amount as well. So yeah, it can be tough when you're on a long film, especially, I mean, I don't have any kids, but I can only imagine for the crew members that do have small children, it must be, you know, horrendous. But that's definitely the toughest things, and it's fatigue as well, you know. It's just sleep deprivation, all of that thing. And when you get to the weekend, you want to go and see your friends and family, but sometimes you're just shattered, you know, broken. Yeah. The most enjoyable part is when a big scene starts to come together, because, you know, there's so much prep and time before it. And then when you get on there and you're working with the director and you've got, say, like 200 or 300 background, and the sets are all, you know, amazingly designed and they're all beautiful, and then you've got like action vehicles and you're running like a big scene. When you're watching that at the monitor, the dance all starts to come together, then that's something that's really like satisfying.
How do you deal with celebrity in your job? Because I imagine you're spending a lot of time around people that are quite famous, and there's an element of being discreet about that as well. But you must build personal relationships with people that would be recognisable, and that must seem quite strange sometimes as well.
It can do. To be honest, I don't really have a massive knowledge of like celebrities, if you like, or Hollywood, or on Heart of the Sea. I was locking off outside of a set, and someone came up and asked me where Chris Hemsworth's trailer was, and I replied, which department is he in? And they were like, he's number one on the call sheet. Like, this guy must be an idiot.
Is there an understanding, or are you like officially bound by any kind of NDA when you're working with people like that? And how does that affect your personal life when you, like, are you able to talk about what you're working on with friends and family? Is there
really,
like being careful?
Yeah. There's definitely NDAs on everything, and it's pretty much the first thing you do when you walk through the door is like, here you go, sign this NDA, and that's everyone, even if you're a daily member or if you're just visiting the set. Everyone is under an NDA. It can be quite tough to come home and just be like, you know, how was your day? Like, yeah, it was alright. Yeah. And just sort of keep it to that.
You're after something. Is it revenge? Money? Or is it something else?
We, the public, see these films long after you've worked on them often. And I just wondered how close you keep them to you. For example, when critics see it, and if they don't like the film that you've worked on, does that kind of get to you, or is that more just that's an extra element of the job? I'm just here to make the stuff.
Yeah, I don't take any of that stuff personally. Like, I do take an interest and read what critics and see how it's received, and sort of keep a half eye on the films that I've worked on and see how they're doing. But I certainly don't take it personally. No, if it bombs or whatever, I'm like, yeah, cool, that was a bit dodgy, wasn't it? And then, you know.
I feel much better about all those films that you worked on that I slacked off.
Yeah.